Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Hall. Welcome to week 5 of ENG 130. So, we have finally come to your essay. A lot of times this is called a project so that you don't freak out, but honestly, it should be relatively painless. You're basically taking all of the work that you've done over the past 4 weeks and putting it all together. Please note that this should be about 2, maybe 3 pages in the form of an essay. If you see the student exemplar for this week, you'll notice you're not numbering things. There is no specified template. You're not answering questions. You're writing one cohesive analysis. So putting everything together. And I have for you this week some videos, one about an explanation on how to write body paragraphs a little bit more effectively because we covered the introduction, but this helps with body paragraphs for your essay. And then the other one covers how to write a conclusion, and it talks about different types of conclusion. And I found students have found really that these are the 2 most helpful resources that I share throughout the course. So I cannot stress this enough. You have to consider your primary audience. I mentioned this last week, and it's going to be very important this week as well. You chose an audience earlier this term. You're going to be reflecting on the choices you made to reach that audience, and then you're going to be editing the whole essay or rewriting parts of it for your second audience. So it's really important to remember that. So what's the rubric asking for? Number 1, begin with the introduction from last week. Make any necessary changes based on feedback if it's available, if I've already graded your stuff by the time you go to write, and your own thoughts as you look over it a second time. In the body, you should have 1 paragraph at least for each of the following. In any order that it makes sense to you. They have one layout, I have this layout, but really it's kind of however you feel the flow should be as long as you hit each one of these points. The author's purpose, the context, particularly the historical context, you talked about those a couple weeks ago, the author's core idea and the details that support that core idea, again, something I already talked about, the author's choices as related to the purpose and genre of the text, and then the author's audience and the choices made to reach that audience and how they relate to the purpose or the subject. Within the body, you should within the body of your essay, you should include at least 1 quotation and an analysis or an explanation really of that quote. I really recommend more than 1. If you want to fully support your ideas, having 2 or 3 quotes throughout the paper, using a quote for like the core idea or the choices made to reach the audience, something that kind of shows that historical context, something that shows a choice related to the purpose or genre. All of those are like evidence to prove your points and support your ideas. And it's a skill that's going to be really important in the next writing class that you take. So it's good to practice it here. And also it helps with your length a little bit. Make sure that your quotes are no more than 1 or 2 lines on the page. Finish with a conclusion that reinforces your thesis. Think about new language, not new ideas. So basically this means you should restate whether or not the article was effective and why, but you're not just copying and pasting your thesis. You shouldn't introduce a totally new quotation or information your reader hasn't seen before. Based on your audience, you could summarize things. You could call your readers to do something that's called a call to action. For example, cut back on social media, learn how to relieve stress, invest in tech companies, right? Any of that kind of thing. The video that I'm sending out later this week explains that in a little bit more depth. You must use in-text citations throughout the essay. Remember, these go after a summary, paraphrase, or quotation. You can do them in MLA or APA form, depending on what your major is. Then, before turning in your work, run a spelling and grammar check, or put your paper through something like Grammarly to find and fix those last-minute errors. I do have to grade you on this, and it is worth a little bit more for Module 5 and 7 than it is for other assignments, so I just like to mention it. Again, this is a great week to use that Writing Center. We have help online and it's free and it's there for any student who needs it. So this is a great time to use that resource. That's it. So again, I'm going to send out some links later on about body paragraphs. It's I think like 13 minutes long, but it's really incredibly helpful and can help you organize your thoughts as you go and know how to incorporate those quotations into a paragraph. The readings this week should help with that as well. And that's about it. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, everyone.